welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm thrilled to have a good friend, Deborah DiSanzo, with me here today. I myself, when you told me this was going to be your new job, moving back from Europe, having spent your entire career running very big healthcare businesses, it kind of stunned me that you would join IBM, a technology company, and focus around health. So why don't you talk a little bit, what attracted you to that role versus being CEO of a major division, or running a private equity-owned company in healthcare? Why would you go to IBM?
Because we had talked about that. Yeah, that's right. Lots of people were stunned. So my career, I had always done new things. I had always done new things in health. So I was doing, in 1990, before there was any healthcare information, I was doing healthcare information systems. And then I did these, crazy thing. I put defibrillators on walls in public places that had never been done before. And then when I was at Philips, I took the wires off of patient monitors. I mean, we did the first activity monitor. And so I had always done new things. And I was sitting in this very large job and big capital equipment doing not new things. And I just said, I have to do new things. I got to get out there. I got to find new things. And we had artificial intelligence was coming. And I knew artificial intelligence was coming in imaging. We had been looking at it. And I sort of got it in my head that I wanted to do one of a couple of things. And artificial intelligence was major there. So I am... in this time that I talked to about 150 companies in healthcare doing new tech. And IBM started to call me right after the announcement, and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to go work at IBM. It's too big. It's not a healthcare company. I really need to go somewhere where we can disrupt healthcare, where technology will make a difference. And then I went into IBM Research. And I was sitting there with the guys actually who did Jeopardy. First of all, I couldn't believe I was sitting with the guys who did Jeopardy, and they were showing me what they had done in reading images and in reading electronic health records. And I had this 2 hours where I just kept going, oh, come on, it doesn't do that. And they'd go, no, it really does that. Is that good? And I thought, wow, this is terrific. 1, IBM is ahead. 2, IBM is making a play, investing in it, investing in companies, investing in the AI. And they need me because I know healthcare. So you marry the technology with a team that knows healthcare and will make a difference. So that's why I went to IBM.
So what has changed in the last couple of years since you've been at IBM Watson? And what advancements have you seen that AI has accomplished?
So many things, including Mayo Clinic. In Mayo Clinic, Tafia Haddad is the breast cancer oncologist who trains Watson Clinical Trials Matching to match breast cancer patients to clinical trials. It's a very lengthy, if you've ever had any cancer, if you've gone into a clinical trial, or if your family has, it's a very lengthy process. It's hard. You have to read through the entire electronic health record, which is thousands of pages long, to pick out the inclusion and exclusion criteria for a clinical trial. At Mayo, it would take them on average 30 minutes to match a patient with a clinical trial, which is too long. Physicians simply do not have time to spend 30 minutes matching a patient to a clinical trial. Before Watson Clinical Trials Matching, Mayo will say they would have very few patients going through breast cancer clinical trials. Last year, every single new breast cancer patient at the Mayo Clinic was processed through Watson Clinical Trials Matching. The time to match goes from 30 minutes not using Watson to 8 minutes using Watson.
Have you seen the payers, i.e. the insurance companies, embrace technology, embrace what you're trying to accomplish in a different way than perhaps the providers, i.e. Memorial Sloan Kettering or Mayo Clinic? Is there a difference in how the various participants in the healthcare system are embracing artificial intelligence, IBM Watson Health? Do you see a difference?
I don't know. I see them using it for different things. So if for some reason, life sciences companies pops into my mind to talk about first. So how would life sciences companies use artificial intelligence? Well, we can use it in the front end. We have this thing called Watson for Drug Discovery, which really helps life science researchers sort through the myriad of data. I think 8,000 research papers are published every day on drugs. If you're a life science researcher, you can maybe read 300 a year. So Watson for Drug Discovery helps sort through all of that and helps life sciences researchers find targets. And we're finding with our clients that use it that we can take the front end, finding a target or a molecular gene from 18 months down to something that is in under 12 months, well under 12 months. Or Celgene is partnered with us on pharmacovigilance. If when an adverse event comes in from a patient, they get you know, hundreds of thousands of adverse events, and a human today has to read through them and disposition them correctly. And there's an error rate in humans, and artificial intelligence, we call it Watson for Patient Safety, can actually help the adverse event coordinators read through the adverse events and disposition them. So that's you know, that's on life sciences. Governments around the world, the payers of healthcare understand that you can, by aggregating large databases of patient data and curating them properly, you can find paths of what works best in chronic disease, what works best for a particular patient. Providers really are looking mostly to how can we improve the radiology reading room, how can we improve, help our oncologists, and how can we improve primary care physicians.
And lower the cost.
And lower the cost.
Where do you think IBM Watson Health is today versus where you thought it would be when you joined? Ahead? Where you thought it would be?
Well, I've learned a lot about data. I learned a lot about data. You know, we think, you know, there are these, and now everybody likes to say, I've got 50 million patient records, I've got 80 million patient records. What I've learned about data is that most data is difficult to read. And most data is not going to be useful unless you spend a tremendous amount of time cleaning it, curating it, and getting it ready to be analyzed using predictive analytics or artificial intelligence.
Let's talk a bit about a couple of the big transactions that have been announced, because I think they are kind of game changers. Obviously, the announcement by Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire. What was your reaction to that?
Whenever you aggregate pools of patient data, the hope is always there that by aggregating the pools of patient data, you're going to be able to create patient cohorts. We actually create dynamic patient cohorts so that you can understand what the best path is for a particular disease based on real-world evidence. So the Health Transformation Alliance was actually formed 2 years ago, and it is a group of 40-plus companies now, the biggest companies in the U.S., you know, Boeing, Coca-Cola, American Express, IBM. 6 million patients, so an aggregate of 6 million patients. IBM is actually the cloud and the data analytics there, so we're using MarketScan and the 6 million patients and CVS is the PBM there to help the employers in that provide better care to their employees and lower the cost. So as the Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire Hathaway consortium was announced, it's 1 million patients, and it announced Amazon would be the cloud and data analytics. So it's, you know, if you have pools of patient data and you can analyze that patient data, you without doubt can find paths through it that will lower the cost of care and improve patient outcomes.
Is it going to be 5-10 years before the whole system actually adopts big data and there really isn't, you know, as much, you know, call it waste, fraud, and abuse in the system and excess capacity in the system? What's going to actually be the catalyst, and has it changed?
I think we're very lucky if we can sit and say, if we're one of the ones who can say that our healthcare hasn't changed, because there are a couple of factors going on now which are really reaching acute levels. The first one is physician burnout, and so there's statistics that 50% of all physicians are experiencing burnout, And there, if you talk to Toby Cosgrove from Cleveland Clinic, or Steve Strongwater from Atrius Health, or Michael Dowling at Northwell, they're going to tell you that they're concerned about physician burnout. And really, this is National Academy of Medicine's got a whole working group on it right now. I mean, if our physicians are getting burnt out, it is going to affect healthcare. What's happening? They're leaving the system. Waiting times are getting longer. I actually wanted to get, my primary care physician did leave the system. I got a new one. I asked for an appointment last October. My appointment is next July. So we are without a doubt seeing a shortage of physicians. And I wonder if I can tell this story, because I think this, it is well out there. It is well out there now, but I got this beautiful job at IBM Watson Health, and 5 months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think you knew that, right? But so it was a whole journey that I went through. But when I went to see my radiation oncologist, I sat down with the nurse, and she sat there with me. She had no idea who I was, and she went on for an hour of how she hated interacting with the electronic health record. And she would say, I know I need to do this. I know it's all about the bill. But before, 6 months ago, before we had the system, I could look at you. I could look in your eyes. I could tell you what was going to happen to you. I could talk to you. I could have a conversation. But now I have to spend all of my time looking at the electronic health record. And I want to tell you, my father, I don't want this to sound all morbid, but my father passed away last October, but he was in the ICU, and I went into the ICU. I live in Massachusetts, so it's not, I mean, we have a robust healthcare system in Massachusetts as well. I was in the intensive care unit. I was with my father. He was days away from passing, and the nurse walked in, and she walked right by my father and me, and she went right over to the electronic health record, and she spent 10 minutes inputting into the electronic health records. So you say, what will change? One, I am absolutely sure within 3 years that we are going to make technology better so that the rat onc can look me in the eyes again, that nurse can look me in the eyes and does not have to spend all time inputting into an electronic health record. What artificial intelligence will do is augment the intelligence of the physicians, help them do their job better. I really hope that it helps their interaction with technology better, and helps with the problem of physician burnout.
One topic that we spend a lot of time thinking about in healthcare is sort of patient privacy. Do you think we're ever going to get to a point where we can break through that barrier? Because I think that's a big issue that we all face in healthcare, which is at what point does the identification of the patient versus the data, and where does that line get drawn?
Well, in one sense, I want to say we have found, extraordinarily good ways to anonymize and protect the patient data, and when we're doing it every day. I have large teams in our cloud, HIPAA compliant, GDPR compliant. We have found ways really to protect patient data, and I will say we have to strive to continue to protect patient data. Lots of people will tell you that millennials care less about protecting their patient data than they do at getting the right cure for them. And I think that will move. But at the end of the day, the thing about data that's very important is your data is your data. If you choose to share it, you should be able to share it. But we have to get it. We got to get it to the point where your data is your data. You can decide what to do with your data, and should you choose to share it, you can. We've gotten to a point now where large entities are saying, no, this is my data, and I don't want to share it. That won't be good for anyone. We need to be able to aggregate patient data. We need to find the real-world evidence in that data. When we do that, we can find better targets for drugs quicker. We can do clinical trials more effectively. We can find better paths for patients.
What's some of the best advice you've received over the years as you've made these decisions to end up in a job like this? I mean, what was the best thing you ever heard in terms of advice?
The best thing I ever heard was from the founder of a small company in Seattle, Washington called Heartstream that I went to manage, and they were the founder of the little red defibrillator that you now see in many places. Carl Morgan was the founder of that company, and when I met Carl Morgan, he said, "Focus on saving lives, and the money will come." Now, when he gave me that piece of advice, you have to remember it was on the background. I don't know who you are, but I don't like you. But focus on saving lives, and it will come. But it was on that, also. We had defibrillators that had to come out. We had to get FDA clearance. We had to convince a whole ecosystem that you could have defibrillators in public places. There was an awful lot to do until, and we were really slugging it out with a lot of companies who were saying our technology didn't work until we saved the first flight attendant's life. And as soon as we saved that flight attendant's life, and her life should not have been saved. The defibrillator was put on the plane the night before. She was just trained. Her colleague was just trained up over 10,000 feet. She had a cardiac arrest. She was saved. And then the market started to explode, and we got really focused on saving lives, and Carl was right. And everything, that was in 1997 that he told me that, and everything that I have been doing since then is focus on saving lives, and the money will come, and it works.
How about your favorite leader in the world?
My favorite leader is Ginny Rometty, without a doubt. Ginny Rometty has been the chairman of IBM for 5 years, and the last 3 years, 50% of IBM has changed. 4 years ago, there was no Watson, there was no Watson Health, there was no leader in cloud, there was no quantum computing. Ginny did all of that. She gets treated differently because she's a female, and she's done a heck of a job. She's done a heck of a job. She's my favorite leader. What Ginny has done to transform IBM is astounding, and I'm very proud to work for her.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you all very much.